In this video, you'll learn how to configure and set up Lumenzia so that the interface is ideal for your workflow. First, you want to go up to the Window menu, Extensions, and open up Lumenzia by clicking on here. All third-party extensions go under the Window Extensions menu. So we'll click on Lumenzia, and we've now opened up Lumenzia. And we'll go back up there and we'll open up the Basics panel. So now we have both panels open and available to us. Now there are no options currently for the Basics panel. If you click for the additional options, you see that there aren't any other than to simply close the panel. Under Lumenzia, if you're using Photoshop CC 2014 or later, there are a couple of options. One is to choose the size of the interface, so you can save on screen space if you like. And the other is this paint on orange previews. We'll get into that in a later video. It's just a quick option that allows you to paint within the orange layer stack in the previews to customize your masks. But just know that this is where preferences are. It's these three little bars icon in the top right of the panel. Actually, in the top of any panel, this is just a standard Photoshop interface element. So once you have Lumenzia and Basics open, you can now decide where you want them to go on your screen and how they look. For example, Lumenzia right now is not fully visible. I can't see the tutorials button, so I'm just going to hover between this panel and the panel below, so I get this little double-headed arrow. Then I can click and drag down to expose as much of the panel as I want. So I'm just going to open up to the bottom of the panel, and now I fully see Lumenzia. With Basics, I might decide that I want to put it next to Lumenzia. So where it is right now, it's sort of this little pop-up side panel, which is nice because if you don't use it as often, it's available, but it's not taking up any screen space except for when you want it. But if you wanted to put it up next to Lumenzia, we can simply click and drag on its icon, and we'll see this box is lit entirely blue, meaning it's going to join the same grouping. So now we can see one of them at a time and switch between these. Or if you want to see everything, we can click and drag this down, and notice that we get a solid blue line between the panels, and now it goes in that space. And again, we can still change the relative size and shape of these panels to fit our needs. So this is just the default way that panels move in Photoshop. For example, I could have grabbed the info panel here and docked that as well. So these are just sort of a standard way that these things work, but you may not be familiar with customizing it, so let me just show you a few more things on what you can do. So notice that we can put these either as a standalone panel, we can group them together, we can put them in these little mini docks here where they pop out, which is a nice thing to do for things like the properties pane, or if you use the histogram, for example, if we go to Window Histogram, if these are open while Lumenzia is running or any script is running, try to update constantly and can slow down the script. So having these dockable is a nice way to have them available, but close them when you click the various buttons, and that will just speed things up a little bit. Lastly, we can grab this and we can also just drop it in the middle of Photoshop. So this can be a little pop-out option, or we can click to expand it, and now it's a floating panel here. Or again, go back and dock it as a little minimized icon. We could even throw it down on the bottom here. We could throw it on the left-hand side. You can really go just about anywhere. So these are very, very flexible tools. Also, these minimized columns here, if you don't have something like that, the way that you get that is these little arrows at the top actually expand and collapse. So I could be using everything as these minimized icons. So here's my layers popping out, here's Lumenzia popping out. So if you don't have one of these columns, you can just simply drag Basics to the side, creates a new column, and then you can expand or collapse it as you like. So a lot of flexibility with this. Personally, the way that I've got it showing on screen right here is the way I like it. I don't even usually have channels open. So I usually just like to look at layers, Lumenzia, and then all my other little helper tools like the info panel and the properties and the Basics panel. They're all available to me, but they're not taking up any screen space.